Hey, good people. This is Rocki with Rocki's Reality, the #1 podcast for unfiltered and unapologetic culture, entertainment, and relationships. Tap in live Thursdays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I chat with some of the dopest artists, celebrities, influencers, entrepreneurs, and more. Make sure to catch us live Thursdays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Roku. See you soon. Welcome to Rocki's Reality, everyone. I am excited because it is May. May is one of my favorite months because it is about moms. This is one of the few, around Mother's Day, I get to, milk it from my kids and my husband. And I just love being a mom. And also it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So those of you who have followed Rocki's Reality know that I'm a huge mental health awareness advocate, especially as being a mom myself. And so last year we started a series of Mompreneurs in May. And I said, why not continue that series this year as well? So this year, we've got a fantastic lineup of mompreneurs. You will be blown away. But the first one is yet another example, y'all. Let me tell you how God works, okay? Now, when I first read My Brother's Keeper by ReShonda Tate, this was, I want to say, almost 30 years ago. It was definitely at least 20. It was definitely one of the books that influenced me as a writer and just cultivated my love for fiction. So the opportunity to have my guest on the show is just like, it's a full circle moment for me because I've followed her and her family. I feel like her mama and her sister and her kids are my mama and sister and kids. Like I'll be following, catching up on them and saying prayers when stuff is going awry. And, you just become like a family. And I really appreciate how she's just always been a reachable a person and accessible. So ReShonda Tate is the national best-selling author of more than 50 books, y'all. More than 50 books. Her novel, Let the Church Say Amen, was made into a film directed by actress Regina King, shout out to her, and produced by T.D. Jakes and Queen Latifah. Her book, The Secret She Kept, was also made into a TV one. Kyla Pratt was, she acted that role. ReShonda made appearances in both movies. She also wrote a movie, Christmas with My Ex, which was on TV One. She is a well-respected journalist, and she gives the tea, y'all. During the pandemic, I was making sure I kept up on her page. She's also a former TV news anchor and currently the managing editor at the Defender newspaper. She also works as a professional editor, ghostwriter, and literary consultant. And she is the co-founder of Brown Girls Publishing, a boutique publishing company, along with her writer twin that many of us may know as Victoria Christopher Murray, another one of my writing role models. So I had to do it proper, you all. I'm real quick with the introductions because, I'm not into formalities, but I really had to give her respect. And I want to welcome to tonight's show, ReShonda Tate. I'm not in the studio, so I don't have my sound effects, but I'm gonna make my own. So clap
for myself. I feel you.
Listen, clap for and I want to thank you, ReShonda, because I have just admired your style and your writing I'm literally. When did My Brother's Keeper come out? I want to say that was like the early 90s. Was that mid 90s?
Well, it was 1999 when it was released.
Okay, so yeah, I knew it. I was like, it was at least 20 years now. And it just struck me. And from that on, since the Saints and Sinners and Saints, and just The Secret She Kept, and just on and on. What were some of my other The Pastor's Wife? Woo, child, that was another one that was my favorite. And of course, I loved when you and Victoria Christopher Murray linked up and started doing your books as well. And so I really just want to give you your flowers and kudos to all you have done, because seriously, and I don't know if it was just random or intentional, but I do believe in God. I'm so grateful that you came into my inbox last month to say, hey, are you coming to the book signing? Because I'm like, oh my God, yes. Absolutely. So, and it was one of those days where, how you have like 4 or 5 different events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was me that day. Like I had a birthday brunch to go to, and then we were having an event downtown at our Eastern Market here in Detroit, a vendor event. And so I'm like, in between those, I was like, I have got to meet her. I was asking my husband, I was like, can you just please drop me off right quick so I can meet her? So I'm so glad I connected with you. And welcome to the show, ReShonda. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you all, ReShonda, if you are not following her, you should be following her. Just a phenomenal storyteller. And I love how, and I was reading, I got about a third way through Queen of Sugar Hill. I'm definitely going to finish it. This is her present book, you all, and we'll watch the book trailer in a little bit. But listen, Gone with the Wind was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Okay, looking at it with the grandparents, I really appreciate how you crafted the story. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But I just wanted to, if you could give people a snapshot of your journey. First of all, let me ask, how your mama doing? How's your,
She's doing okay. She's making it. She's doing fine.
okay, and my condolences on the loss of your aunt. So yeah, we know we are part of the sandwich generation where we're taking care of the kids, we're taking care of our parents, and we're taking care of ourselves. So that's also why your journey has resonated with me because I'm like, yeah, she got kids too, just like me. Like my daughter is 20 and my son is 13. So we're caught in that same.
And my 24-year-old ought to count as 4 kids. She counted as 4 of them in one.
No, the girls. Is she a Leo? Because I know them fire signs to try to take you out. My daughter is, yeah, she's the same as well. And actually, my sister is one of your sorors. So I was, that's part of why I followed your journey as well. Just so many reasons, but I want to thank you and just I love how you're another example of someone who said, I'm getting out of the tradition, no 9 to 5. So describe that moment where you were like, I'm no longer doing this 9 to 5. I'm going full time, full throttle with writing.
Yeah, so I'm a dreamer. I'm outside the box. I have always believed that I can have all my dreams. Everything I want to do, I feel like I can do it. There is a part of me, however, that wants some direct deposit and some stability. And so I wanted to step out in faith. And I don't know where you take your problems, but I take mine to my knees. And I prayed for direction, but I didn't listen. So every time God would give me a sign that it was time for me to leave my 9 to 5, I'm like, but God, direct deposit. I ain't ready to walk away. And that fear was keeping me in until I had no choice but to move. And then once I did, the doors opened up. And you really do. Sometimes we keep the things that we're supposed to be passionate about and the things that we were put on this earth to do. We make those a side hustle when they should be our passion, our main thing.
Yep. Yep. Tell it. That's exactly where I am right now because I do, believe it or not, have a 9 to 5 as well, but I also write and edit and do PR as well. So all of the things. And so that's why I'm so grateful. So for you, Annalise Bauer says she's my role model too. So
I just love
she said I'm stalking, following her. Okay, now Annalise, she done wrote a book about you though.
Baby, Annalise, she is everything I wished I could have been at her age. She's 15 and a half. She's 16.
I love it.
I've known her since she was 12, 11, 12. And when I tell you, that's what we want for our young people. So I love being inspired by young people because she's doing the things I had this desire when I was young. Yeah. And we try to quell the fire in our young people. And I really want us to get away from that. We want the safe. And my mother loved her to death, but she wanted, she didn't see a writer. She didn't see things outside of her peripheral vision. Yeah. And so she couldn't see the dreams. And so a lot of times we have to remember that our children's dreams can sometimes be bigger than ours.
Amen. Where the bell? I wish I had a bell, baby. Because I think we come from the same generation where you're raised, you go to school.
Yep.
You get a good job. You get married before you have babies. And you don't quit your good government job.
Right.
You don't quit. And so that's definitely something I identify with. So, but as a writer, talk about how being a journalist and how you switch from, because that's part of one of the hurdles I want to overcome is when people keep asking me like, when you gonna write a book? When you gonna write a book? And I was like, I need to sit down and write this book. But how do you transition between journalist at the Defender to nonfiction writer?
Yeah, one of the things Victoria Christopher Murray always says, your desire to write has to become greater than your resistance. And as long as your resistance is greater, you're not going to finish that book, because life is going to always get in the way. And so you have to set a goal, whether it's a small goal or a big goal. For me, it was 3 pages a day, 5 days a week, no matter what. So I'm a television news anchor and reporter, but it wasn't until I set that goal of 3 pages a day, 5 days a week, that I was able to finish my first book, because I kept saying, I'm going to get this book finished. I need to finish it. And it wasn't until I actually got set those specific goals that I was able to make it happen. In terms of transitioning between the two, when I was doing fiction, I really loved it, because by day I would stick to the facts in my day job, and at night I could let my imagination roam free. I'm writing historical fiction now, and I love it because it's the best of both worlds. Some tools allow for the research, and then my fiction side allows me to come in and tell the story.
Yes, because as I was reading The Queen of Sugar Hill, I'm like, how much of this is really true? So we'll get to that in a minute. And another author I enjoy is Vanessa Riley, who does the same with, I don't know if you've heard of her, but she does historic fiction, and she covers like the Bridgerton region, Georgian era, and it's so realistic. So for you though, do your characters speak to you, ReShonda?
Oh, all the time. So I was writing this book with Hattie, and along the way, I felt her speaking to me. I went to her house. I stayed outside her house for the longest because I was having some doubts on whether I could tell the story. Hattie was like, tell this story. And along the way, there are some parts that I felt like I might need to leave out, because, you're telling the good and the bad and the ugly. And I really questioned the ugly part or some of the controversial parts. And Hattie was like, tell my story, all of it. I lived it, so tell it. And when I finished it, I told my sister, Hattie is proud. My sister was like, I thought she was dead. I said, she is, but she is proud.
I love that. I love it. So for you, how much of your work has been autobiographical?
I write fiction, and that's it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's what I'll tell the judge when my cousins come and try and sue me. There's a joke in my family. Don't say anything around ReShonda unless you want.
I kind of seem like I felt some parallels at some points.
Purely coincidental.
I was wondering if you was talking about your ex-husband for a minute. I was like, is this
any relations to actual people? Is purely that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I do. I take bits and pieces of real life. And I change the names to protect the guilty. And I really do. But I'm not admitting to anything. I write fiction. That's what I'm saying.
Well, as a fan, I have to say, like, at times I felt like some of the stuff was mimicking real life. I was like, I wonder if that happened in real life. But, like a storyteller, it's a difference when you're just a regular reader and someone who's a storyteller too, because you get that. Annalise is like, no comment. So we'll no comment. But describe the transition of bringing your stories to film. Did you have to fight to keep certain elements in? Because I don't know if you're like me, the book is always better. It's like on-screen productions, they rarely meet what the book is. So how was that for you, bringing Let the Church Say Amen and The Secret She Kept to the screen? Which The Secret She Kept, I was like, baby, Kyla Pratt was grown. She was that was what I was like. She is no longer the little kid actor anymore. But describe that process.
Yeah, when they first told me Kyla Pratt was going to play this serious role, I was like, Penny Proud, don't do this, but she killed it. But you know what? When I first read the script for Let the Church Say Amen, the first script, I was like, who are these people? And why did they buy my book if they're going to make all these changes?
Right.
I really looked at it and I said, I do what I do and they do what they do. Number one, a screenplay is 90 pages. A book is 300. So they're trying to take that 300 pages and pull it into the book. So really the movie is the essence of the book. And once I got that in my head, I understood it, because they have to take liberties. In the book, and Let the Church Say Amen, the book, the main character had two baby daddies, two kids. Well, in the movie, if you do that, then you got to explain where the two baby daddies come from. You got to hire two kids. You got to hire two teachers. So it's little things like that that go into the production that we don't get. There's also a character in the book who was gay. And in the movie, they had a really popular R&B singer who wanted to play the role, but he didn't want to play gay. Things like that that go into the production of a movie that you don't have to worry about in the book. And so I think Regina loved working with me, the directors for The Secret She Kept, because I understood that. And I stood back and I let them do the things that they were supposed to do to make it a better movie.
I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about when real stories are told on screen. Like my husband and I watch BMF on Stars. And of course, because we are from Detroit, we're like, what is true in here? But I love how at the beginning, the disclaimer says some of this shit might be true. Some of it might not be true. And so I think a lot of times we get so, we get so entrenched with the story that we can't let it go. That we're like, well, it happened this way, not that way. Yeah. And so, but that's a ton of fiction that I think.
And that's why I love with historical fiction, because even with this book on Hattie McDaniel, you know, Hattie lived for 52 years. How am I going to tell 52 years in 360, 300, 400 pages? So I have to combine that. And Hattie was a cougar before we knew what cougars were.
Hey, I was like, she out here getting it with 4 husbands.
She get 4 husbands and a lot of young lovers. But I don't have time to tell all of her lovers. Readers don't want to go from man to man to man. So I have to take some liberties in combining them. And then when the movie comes out, they're going to have to take some more liberties. And I understand that.
I love it. Oh, so a movie is coming. I love it.
Coming.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So when is it coming? When? Like when?
So all I can say right now is that the director of Rustin, that was on Netflix, and the producer of Precious, they're producing partners. So they're bringing it to the big screen, and so we're in the process right now of getting a writer and director. So I'm super excited about it.
I love it. So for you, who would you like to play that role? I know who I got in my head. I would like to see Octavia Spencer play her.
I'm going to tell you, before The Color Purple, back from Orange is the New Black, I saw Danielle Brooks.
Okay.
But let me tell you, I learned, though, that with Let the Church Say Amen, I don't say what actresses anymore, because the first lady of Let the Church Say Amen, they came and told me Layla Rashawn was playing the role. And I'm like, Sunshine from Harlem Nights, she going to be a first lady? Baby, she killed it. She was awesome. She was awesome.
Yeah.
And so I said a good actor can make the role theirs.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love to see that. So let's go right quick. We're going to go into the book trailer, but I wanted to read a part because really pieces like this really remind us of how blessed we are.
Yes.
Like it really, like I was reading this, like I would have been just so. And just as a creative, you understand that battle of and this is why I wore my shirt today.
Yeah.
Know your worth and then add tax. It's like the anthem that women have to say,
right.
Have to speak. And so I found that she had a lot of battles. Yes. Like she and a lot of people were ignorant about that. She, you know, pretty much got it out the mud.
Right.
So they just felt like she just popped on the screen with Gone with the Wind, but I was really taken aback when I read that she had did like something over 70 roles.
Yes.
Before Gone with the Wind, most of them uncredited.
Correct. You know, and that, but isn't that just like life? People look at you and they're like, oh, you know, she blew up, but you don't know my journey. You don't see the number of no's. You don't see the rejections that I got before I got to 54 books.
Amen. Okay. The same here. The pitches that you send, hoping that someone understands the vision, hoping they don't change the vision too much, because then it's totally changing your message. But let me go ahead and play the book trailer. This is the book trailer, you all, for The Queen of Sugar Hill. And then when we come back, we're going to discuss that title and everything. Well, not everything, but just a lot of stuff about the book. Because I had so many questions as I was reading it, like, oh my goodness. Even though, like I said, I'm only about a third of the way through, I'm enjoying it already. So here is the book trailer for The Queen of Sugar Hill.
In the golden age of Hollywood, amidst the glitz and glamour, one woman dared to defy the odds and shine brighter than the stars themselves. Meet Hattie McDaniel, the Queen of Sugar Hill, a woman whose talent and resilience captivated audiences and inspired generations, one of the most famous black actresses of her time. But all that glittered wasn't glamorous. From humble beginnings to becoming the first black person to win an Academy Award for her unforgettable portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind, Hattie McDaniel was loved and hated, revealing that behind the glitz of old Hollywood lay a darker reality. Whether it was navigating four husbands, a complicated love life, an all-out war waged against her by the NAACP, a fight against discrimination in housing, friendships with Clark Gable, Dorothy Dandridge, and others, or the hate she received from blacks and whites, this is an extensively researched, recreated story about a woman you may have thought you knew. Discover the untold story of a woman who was more than Mammy in the historical fiction novel The Queen of Sugar Hill by award-winning author ReShonda Tate. Featured on the Today Show and selected by book clubs nationwide, find out why readers are raving about this glimpse into the heartfelt and inspiring story of a legend who was determined to achieve her dreams, even when everything and everyone was against her. The Queen of Sugar Hill, available wherever books are sold.
Okay, so Queen of Sugar Hill. Why that title?
So Sugar Hill is the neighborhood that Hattie McDaniel lived in when it was originally called West Adams District in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And it was when Hattie first set foot in Los Angeles, she said, I'm going to live in that neighborhood. It was full of mansions. And she moved in it after she used her money from Gone with the Wind. And she was so excited to be there. But her neighbors weren't excited for her to be there, even though she paid $10,000 above asking costs for her home. And her neighbors ended up suing her and other black residents because there was a law called restrictive covenants, which basically said you can't sell your home to anyone who is not of European descent. Mm-hmm. And they took Hattie to court. This is the 40s, so you didn't expect to see the Hattie emerge victorious, but she led the fight. They won, and that was the catalyst for the Supreme Court case that struck down restrictive covenants. So people don't even realize we, black and brown folks, can live wherever we want because of the efforts of Hattie McDaniel.
I love that. So across the country, because we know redlining was very, very prevalent, and just like here in Detroit, there are certain borders that we know come from that history of redlining and being pretty much forced into certain areas by redistricting. We weren't represented properly. I love that. I love how, and we wouldn't have known how she affected history. A lot of people don't realize they thought she was just Mammy.
She was more than Mammy. And so as I was doing my research, I'm like, why don't we know this? Why have I never learned this? And there were so many things that I saw along the way. I didn't like Gone with the Wind in the beginning. I didn't like Mammy. I didn't like the character. I was one of those people that's like, cancel Gone with the Wind. Mm-hmm. And then my grandmother was the one who said, it's 1939. What did you expect her to play?
Right.
That's number one. Number two is, my grandmother was a maid. So why am I looking at Hattie McDaniel with disdain? That's what my grandmother pointed out.
Yeah.
And over the years, somewhere along the line, black folks started looking at our domestic history with disdain. Like there was something wrong with it when it is those hands that toiled in order to get us to the point where we are today.
Yeah. But when we started moving on up like the Jeffersons, we forgot. We forgot. And I think that's the humility and that she showed as well, that she was more than Mammy. And that's a narrative that Black women have fought against as well, right? That we're monolithic, that we can only do one thing. And she was dispelling that. So I love how she dispelled that. So ReShonda, what made you decide to tell Hattie's story? Because as I was reading it and I'm learning about all these other actors and actresses, and I'm looking it up like this person existed. Lillian Randolph, Louise Beavers, Ruby Berkeley Goodwin, Nina Mae McKinney, Freddie Washington, all of these people. I'm like, these were real people who were pivotal to our history. So I thank you for that. And I think that's part of the beauty of historical fiction. Like you're learning some things that you would not have known if you didn't pick it up, because of course mainstream media is not
Right.
highlighting these people. So what made you decide to say, I'm gonna write a historical novel on Hattie McDaniel?
Well, it was because I'm so, after my grandmother shifted my thinking and got me to remove my 21st century lens, I was able to look at it in a different way. And I just feel like she's a legend who hasn't gotten her due.
Yeah.
So many
Yeah.
people that really did look at her in a bad way because of the role she played. And there was part of my research was her saying, I would love to play something else. I'd love to be Wonder Woman. Tell me where I go sign up for that role.
Exactly.
Tell me where I can go and be a love interest. And so we forget that that's all that she had to play.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to shine a light on that. But I was dumbfounded by the hate that she got from both Black people and white people. The white people didn't like her because they felt like Mammy was too sassy. The Black people didn't like her because they felt like it was a stereotype.
Right. Right.
And she just struggled to find her place.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that is something that is a pet peeve for me, how we look at shows from back in the day and judge them now by the standards now. People went in on Moesha, the Cosby Show. They've gone in on Moesha, Martin, all the good times, all of the shows. I'm like, I enjoyed those shows as a kid. Of course, then they were rampant with racism, but that was in a different time. So I think that's an important point that we have to look at, that as we progress in our culture and evolve, sometimes we forget from whence we came. Right. That those were on that those mammies who were cleaning toilets and breastfeeding the babies, they were doing that with dignity. And they did it so we could have these choices.
It's hard for us to reconcile that the mammy, because we're just like, well, this is a deplorable role that she's playing. But Hattie McDaniel's role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, she was running the plantation. She was the one that kept everything together. But somehow we lost sight of that because we're so ashamed of her. And so I really do want to make sure that we give her dues and let her know that it really is, and let people know that she's more than Mammy and that she was only playing the hand that life had dealt her.
Right. And I think sometimes especially the new generation doesn't realize you all have a lot more choices and options that we did. I really had to explain it to my daughter. Like, she could not believe when I told her, yes, we used to have to go to the store to buy CDs.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't just press a button to get the CD. So how did you decide, ReShonda, what to keep? Tell me about the journey, because you had to be researching this for the past year or two. Like, because I'm like, the extent, some of the details you were putting in there, I was just wondering, like, how did you tap into what she would say and what was happening?
Yeah, so I did. I spent 2 years researching. In fact, Victoria at one point was like, can you stop researching and write the book? Because I was getting lost in the research. One of the things that Hattie had a bad habit or a good habit of doing was writing letters to the editor. So she would get mad, and so I was able to capture her voice through that. I got off the internet because I did a lot of research initially on the internet, and I discovered so much was wrong online. So I went to a research library. I perused newspapers. So I spent years just researching her so that I could capture her voice, because I wanted to make sure I tapped into her story, because there are some heartbreaking moments in there. And it's enough for you to just, if it were me, I would just lay down on that sofa and never get up.
Baby.
The things she went through,
the degradation, the just having to swallow your pride, knowing you want to check somebody.
Yes. And one of my daughters said one time, she better not get it twisted. I am not my ancestors. And I said, you know what? You sure are not? Because see, if you don't have Wi-Fi for 30 minutes, you lose your mind. You are not your ancestors, because you couldn't take a fraction of what they endured. Yeah. And that's another thing we started doing. We look at our ancestors and say all the things we wouldn't do. Well, if they hadn't endured, most of us wouldn't even be here today, let alone able to do the things that we're able to do.
That's true. You know what? And I've been guilty of saying that, like, I wouldn't have went through that, but yeah, I didn't have to go through that. And thank God, because the degradation. So one of the heartbreaking moments for me on the set, and in the book, Lenny Bluette is pretty much going off and pretty much saying how Hattie didn't stand up in that moment when they had to enlist Clark Gable to help them with the colored on the set. They had separate restrooms, and he had to enlist Clark Gable to get some help to basically make sure that they have proper facilities on the set, and pretty much was saying how Hattie McDaniel failed to step in, and Hattie was just explaining like I would have. And so one moment that struck me when she said, I would have loved to take up the mantle of equal rights, but that role couldn't exist in the same universe as Mammy. And just what emotions did you go through right now? Because as I'm reading that just made me feel so powerless and frustrated of a lot of stuff that she just had to swallow and just be okay with. Take one for the team.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I was really attached to Hattie McDaniel is because in ways she reminded me of my grandmother. There in the Black race, there are the power to the people, let's burn everything down people. And then there are the quiet warriors. And my grandmother was a quiet warrior. And Hattie reminded me of that. Hattie was a quiet warrior who felt like I can make change by having a seat at the table. But if I burn down the house, I won't be able to have a seat at the table. Yeah. And Butterfly McQueen is a prime example of that.
Yes. Did they really get into it? Did that really happen? So they really had beef.
They had beef because the same reason. Butterfly was like, you're the star of this. You need to speak up. You need to do this. And Hattie was saying, Butterfly, chill, because you're raising all this cane and you're going to get blackballed. And we won't be here to make any change. Butterfly didn't care. Vivian slapped her. She was ready to slap her back. All hell broke loose. And Butterfly ended up getting blackballed. And so that's why you didn't see her around much after that. And Hattie's thing was, she had a seat at the table. So they're Gone with the Wind. The N-word does not appear in the movie. It was in the script, but Hattie, when she got the script and it was time for her to say it, she just didn't say it.
Yeah.
And every time they did retake, she wouldn't say it. And so they just finally was like, forget it, we'll leave it out. So she made changes through those kind of ways. She made changes by changing the way some of them saw her. She made changes in her own quiet way by being in the room.
I love that. And so what is something that you would like readers to take from this story? Because it's so, honey, 4 husbands though. So she for real had 4 husbands. And I know the first one passed away.
And it's funny when
she had no children. Did she have any children?
She had no children. And you probably haven't gotten to this part in the book, but her pregnancy story is heartbreaking. So that is in the book because she desperately wanted children. There is, as I began my research, I was trying to find information on her husband, George Langford, because if you go to Wikipedia, if you read all these articles online, it talks about this husband, George Langford, who died and was shot in a gambling accident. Well, long story short, there is no husband named George Langford. That is just something that was wrong on the internet and people kept repeating it. But she did have another husband. I think that she probably just wanted him to disappear because she found out he had a wife. So
right. Nim. I'm at that part. I think was it Nime or Nim?
Nim.
Right. He sounded like he just a scallywag. That name, Nim.
Yes, he had another. He was already married when he married Hattie. And then she just didn't have good luck with men. She had no trouble finding a man. She had trouble keeping men. And so I really did. I wanted to explore it. After her last husband kind of left her high and dry, stole all her money, Hattie just started being out. She got her a bunch of young men, and she would go out and have the time of her life. So I actually consolidated some of her young men because I felt like at one point I needed a flow chart to keep up with all these young boys. Yeah, so I just kind of consolidated them into one. And I do talk about the changes I made in my historical notes.
Okay, and that's at the end. Because I was wondering, how did you determine, like, this needs to stay in here and this needs to go? Like, obviously her friendship with her girlfriends, that was true.
Yeah, and so everything in the book is true. The fiction comes in. For example, they went to the night after winning the Academy Award, the night of winning, they all went to a club. and the Gone with the Wind cast. They went to celebrate. The club owner did not allow Hattie McDaniel in because they have a no blacks policy. So that's a fact. We know that. That's the fact. The fiction is we don't know what he said to her at the door. So that's where the fiction comes in. I feel like
Clark Gable handled it, or maybe Clark.
So Clark was not there, and I do talk about that in the historical notes. I attend the Academy Awards. So in the historical notes, I explain why I put him there. And so any changes that I made like that, I explain why. And it's because, again, I only had 400 pages to make their friendship. So I wanted to put him there early so that you could see that from the very beginning. But that's how I kind of decided what goes and what stays. As I was doing all the lovers, I was like, the reader is just not going to be able to keep up with these. They're going to be like, is it Michael? Is it Tony? Is it David? Is it Larry? So I combined them all into one.
I love that. So as a publisher, what is that like for you of Brown Girls Publishing? And kudos to you all for Brown Girls Publishing. What has that been like being a publisher?
A whole lot of work. When we got into it, we had grandiose intentions. It is a lot of work, and it is very, very hard to sell a book. And so one of the things that we
especially in this current day and age, like to really with Kindle and all of that, but I still like to fill the pages myself.
Yeah. We thought that our audience, me and Victoria, we thought our audience would automatically go to our readers. And it doesn't happen like that. Our readers wanted us, and they were like, okay, y'all got publishers. And so that was a big eye opener for us. That was kind of hard. And then both of our literary careers really took off. And so it's hard for us to run the publishing company when our literary careers have gone off. And we've tried to bring in other people to kind of run the company. But it just, in this literary climate, it's just not doing well. So we really only publish the young adult books now, the kids written by kids for kids, because they have a good foundation. They have support, but the other books just aren't selling.
Okay. So how would you say for you, your work has evolved over the years, ReShonda? What have been some of your favorite? First, I'm going to ask, how has your work evolved, and who have been some of your favorite characters and books to write? Because, we all have our personal favorites, but what, and Annalise says hers is coming soon. Yes.
She already has one, so she has another one coming.
I love it. So for you first, like how would you say your style has evolved?
So I try to take each book to the next level. And so there come a point when I wrote Miss Pearlie's Girls, which was my last book. I was like, okay, I'm kind of done. This is my 53rd book. I'm out the game. And that's when Hattie came and was like, oh no, we just gonna shift a little. And so I'm in a whole different stratosphere now, and I absolutely love it. I'm in a different lane. I love it. It's fresh. It's new. It's a lot of work. There is no churning out. Anybody that tells you they write a historical fiction book, I heard someone that wrote one in a month. I don't know how that's possible, because you have to research. You have to get the language right, all of that. And so it really has made me a much thorough writer.
Okay. And so which have been your favorite projects? Who have been your favorite characters?
So that's hard. That's like saying, which one of your kids you like best? But if you ask my kids, they'll say that boy, she likes her son the best. No,
it depends on the day. I'm gonna be honest.
I tell them half the time I don't like none of y'all.
Yeah, really, both of y'all getting on my nerves today. Shit, I mean, listen, both of y'all can get it today. And so for what has been you NAACP winner? You've had tons of accolades and awards, ReShonda. What have been some shining moments for you? Because people define success on the outside, but as a creative, as a storyteller, as a journalist, you have to define success for yourself in some achievements as well. That's what I've found. Like, I can't base it on what others deem as success. So for you, some of these accolades, being on TV as well, she played the role. You played that one role. I was like, look at her, look at her.
Yes, ma'am. I needed more, but they got cut. That's another story. You know what? It is the biggest moment of my career came from The Secret She Kept. So after the movie aired, I got an email that next day from a young lady who said the book is about mental illness, and the movie is about mental illness. And I got an email from a lady that says she had planned to commit suicide that day. And she saw the tease for the movie, so she stayed to watch it. She stayed up to watch it. She was in tears as she watched it. She downloaded the book, read it immediately, was up all night, and she said that movie and book saved her life because she felt seen.
Look at
And there were no accolades that could replace that feeling.
Baby, I love those moments when someone said you changed my life. Telling that story changed my life. And so for you as a journalist, ReShonda, you cover at the Defender, which is based in Texas.
Yes.
And so I saw this story today about the school district there. How pretty, and that's still just modern day racism that we're dealing with once again, modern day racism and classism. Once again, they're manipulating things their way. So what are some of the stories you cover with the Defender?
Yeah, so this one today, and I'm not going to let it die because, it is our district here in Fort Bend changed their valedictorian policy. So now it's only to the school you're zoned to. You don't have to go to that school. So what's happening is you have these parents of other races buying homes in those neighborhoods, in the impoverished neighborhoods. They'll rent them out. Their child does not have to set foot in that impoverished, low-rated school, but their child can become valedictorian of that impoverished labor because they are ranked according to where they're zoned, not where they attend. So we have 4 predominantly Black schools here who the valedictorian has never set foot on that campus. There are other races who basically took the number 1 spot. So, there's one of the valedictorians. She is number 1 at that school, but because she's ranked in the zone, she's number 48 at another school she never even attended. So you take her number 1 ranking away, which means you take her scholarships, you take her grant, you take all of these things that could have changed her life as a first generation college student, none of which goes to number 48. They only go to number 1, 2, 3. And so what does she do for kids that never set foot in there? So I love covering stories like that. I'm not going to be silent on it. I'm going to continue just until we shine a light on the injustice, because these parents are like, I'm trying to get my daughter over here, make her number 1 so she can go to Harvard. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of reminds me of when they were fixing the applications and doing the stuff with the financial aid, the celebrity Felicity Huffman, who was my girl on Desperate Housewives. And let
them tell her we're just trying to do what's best for our children. Okay, that's fine, but you're doing it at the expense of Black and brown children.
Exactly.
They can't buy. They have to live in these impoverished neighborhoods.
Exactly.
We walk the halls of these schools that are riddled with gangs and other. And it's not that they're not better. They're not capable or smart.
Exactly.
They have a different curriculum. They got
to fight that much harder to be valedictorian because of the limited resources.
Yes.
For them.
Yeah. So I'm shining a light on it. I'll be talking about it. And I always try and do those kinds of stories because they count on us to just be quiet, and be silent, and to not say anything. And they were able to make this change because we don't vote on school board people. We don't come turn out at the polls for that. We don't come to school board meetings. And so they're able to make these kind of changes, just like they're doing with the textbooks here, because nobody comes.
So Texas is experiencing the same issue as Florida with the textbooks?
Yes. Yeah, we had several Black books moved because one white woman was offended and she petitioned to have all of these Black books removed. And, we're not at school board meetings. And so it is my responsibility as a journalist to bring these issues to light.
I love it. And I love how this is what I love about you, how you do the serious stuff, but we do the little funny stuff too. Because the Brian McKnight, Brian McKnight at Motor City Casino.
See, I'm multi-dimensional.
I love that. That's how I do too. I said I'll be messy, but I also will have some serious stuff going on. But I hate that because I hate that for Brian McKnight. He's not right what he said. He ain't right. But I've been a fan of his music since since the beginning. So I hate that he's now just showing his ass.
Well, you're gonna have to go to the concert and tell me about both people that's there.
Wait a minute. And so do you feel like with social media, this is the gift and the curse? Because yeah, he was wrong as wrong can be, Vanita. But see, we wouldn't even know nothing about that without social media. Sometimes I feel like social media ruins our reverence for celebrities. Like, of course, the celebrities, if you ain't doing nothing wrong, then it can't be exposed. But it's just like, we wouldn't even know half this stuff about the people and I've learned how to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
You got to separate from who they are from what they do.
Yeah, the social media, it definitely is a blessing and a curse. I look at, I'm so glad social media wasn't around when I was coming up. Now, as I'm tracking every move my son take on my phone, I didn't do anything as a child, but if I did, right. I can't imagine my mom just tracking every move. Oh, he's at the gas station.
That Find My iPhone feature. Yeah. Listen, I had to tell my son, don't turn it off while you out. Right. You better keep that location on. And see, this is the millennial parenting that we have to do now, that we have to adjust to. Because when we were little, our mama said, make sure you home before the street lights come on. And we were good. We were out from dawn till dusk, and just make sure your foot was on the porch when that street light was coming up. So I've enjoyed you, ReShonda, and I really, again, appreciate you for reaching out. And I really hope to work with you in the future. As I said, I was serious. So if you ever need writers, editors, PR as well, and if you have a spot, if they are accepting freelancers at the Defender, I would love to do that as well, because I definitely am someone who believes in telling stories with substance. And that's a lot of times the battles I've had with some of the editors I've worked with. Like, I'm not into just sensationalizing stuff. Like, we all like the celebrity gossip, and I've loved interviewing celebrities, but I always like to get to the core of who they are as people. Right. And ask those questions beyond. So I really appreciate you. And I want to end with, well, first, let's tell people where they can find you and find the book. And then I like to end with 5 favorites. So but first, let's tell one where they can find you and where they can pick up The Queen of Sugar Hill.
It is available wherever books are sold. It's been out a few months now. And so if it's not in, then you just ask for it. They can have it in a couple of days, or you can go anywhere online. And you can find me online. My website is my name, ReShondaTate.com. And I am on social media as ReShonda_Tate as well.
All right. So y'all make sure find that. Okay. So we're going to end with 5 favorites. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for you as an author, who is your favorite author?
What? Are you really asking me that? You know what?
Who influenced you? Who would you say influenced your style of writing?
So my love of writing was developed by Maya Angelou and Judy Blume.
Oh my God, Judy! Dear God! Oh my God! No, y'all better Google Judy Blume, baby. Are you there, God? Dear God, it's me, it's Margaret. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm an avid reader. I always have a book that I'm reading. I just finished Denny S. Bryce's The Other Princess. I love reading, so it's hard for me to pick a favorite because I go back and forth between historical fiction and suspense, and so I'm always reading.
Right, I must write for you.
Right.
Those of us of a certain maturity level understand who Judy Blume is. Like, definitely a pioneer. Her and Beverly Jenkins, Beverly Cleary. Mm-hmm. Cleary. Listen, old school. When I was a kid, I would check out so many books. I would have overdue fees, and my mama would be so pissed at me. Right. I would check out like 8, 12 books at a time. It was ridiculous. Okay, so favorite author, yes, Fudge. All of those, Vanita. All of those are classics. So, okay, favorite travel destination.
So I went to Rome recently. I love that. I didn't used to like traveling, and my friends talked about me because I'm not a traveler. Maybe because I didn't have a man that I wanted to travel with, and now that I do, I love traveling.
Listen, okay. That's hard for me to go on a girls trip because I want to get away from you, but I know I'm gonna miss you once I'm there.
Yeah. So, but my favorite travel destination as a writer is Martha's Vineyard. I love Martha's Vineyard.
Oh my gosh, that's definitely on my bucket list. Yeah. Definitely on my bucket list. Okay, favorite food.
Probably lobster. I know that sounds a little bougie, but I love some lobster.
I'm
Um,
not mad.
love it, love it, love it. I don't like crab as much because it's too much work to get a little piece of meat
Mhm.
out, but I'm a big
Right. My granddaddy was the same way. He hated that. He was like, I'm not dealing with that. Right. Right. Okay. So for you, favorite. Now I saw you with Bobby Brown. Y'all listen, Bobby was doing the doggone thing. So who is your favorite music artist?
So growing up, it was Prince and New Edition. And
Ooh.
my mother would I couldn't go to see Prince though. I had a temper tantrum at 15 because she wouldn't let me go see Prince.
Oh no.
And then definitely New Edition.
Yeah, yeah. Prince was totally not appropriate.
I know that's what she said, but
You
baby,
know what? I was 8 years old talking about head. Don't know what I was singing. Totally like it just like we come from a generation. Totally stuff was just so inappropriate. Like Two Live Crew, Prince.
yeah,
Listen, it was inappropriate. Our mamas knew better. They knew what was up.
right.
So okay. And last thing, your favorite accessory.
Oh, my favorite accessory. Unfortunately, now it is my glasses. I have, I guess that's why God doesn't like ugly because I bragged about my 2020 vision for the last 20 years, and now I can't see nothing without my glasses. So my favorite accessory would be that, but I am also a bangles kind of girl. I love some
Ooh.
bangles. So if you got me some pretty bangles, that made my day.
I love that. And Vanita is the same way. Because I do notice that you switch out different frames. So you just might as well make it fun.
Everywhere. I gotta have them everywhere. Or I won't see anything, and that just happened. I hit 40 and
Yeah.
couldn't. The vision just started going kaput.
Stuff is not the same. And that's why I tell, but even though I love being of a certain age now, because we are she said, are you a blue glam girl, Rashonda? Is that like a eyeglass line?
It is. I have not tried it yet. I would love to try it. I just haven't. I haven't done it. My girlfriend Nancy Flowers Harris has a line, Bontel, that I just love. You love Vogue Glam. Okay, I have to try that, Vanita.
Okay. Okay. Love that. Love that. Love that. Well, thank you again, Rashonda. And so we will be looking out. Is there anything else coming up besides the Queen of Sugar movie? And that'll probably be in the next year. So we know
Yeah.
it takes a long time.
So I'm
Um,
working on the next one, and that is on Hazel Scott. And Hazel, again, this is somebody I didn't know a whole lot about.
he
She
was
was
in the book too, right? I said, yeah, musician.
But she was Adam Clayton Powell's ex-wife, Adam Clayton
Oh,
Powell Jr., and she was the richest, the biggest jazz singer in our history. Not Billie Holiday, not Sarah Vaughan, but she was erased from history because she was a civil rights activist, and they deemed her a communist and basically ran her out the country. So her story is fascinating, and I've been hard at work on it. So it comes out in 2025 or 26.
right. You know what? That was something similarity I'm finding with. I watched the Marilyn Monroe documentary on Netflix, and they were saying the same thing about her, that she was so affiliated with communist
That's
people.
that was the racist tool when they wanted to shut you up.
Yeah, sounds like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What was that one that the line that your friend makes again? What's the name of it?
Vontae, Vontae,
How you
beautiful.
spell it?
Vontelle.
Okay, go ahead and just Google that.
Yeah, Vontae. They were just
Vanessa.
on a few, so I'm real proud of them.
I love it. And Black woman owned.
Yes,
Yes, I
two black
love it.
women on it, Tracy and Nancy.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Rashonda. And this is not goodbye. This is see you later. I appreciate your time, and I hope that the Queen of Sugar. I was about to say Queen Sugar, Lord, the
I
Queen
like
of
to do that.
the Queen of Sugar Hill continues to do well, because I see that it's definitely grasping people's attention. And I've definitely, like I said, I'm about 130 pages in, and I'm like, my husband was talking the other day. I'm like, okay, look, I gotta get this done now so I can have something to. But I'm definitely gonna finish it because I am definitely intrigued by her story and just all the maneuvering she had to do. I know she just had to be so exhausted with
Yeah,
what she
yeah.
did. So hats off to you, and salute to Hattie McDaniel for what she's done. I really hope people do learn more about her besides who she was as Mammy, because she was definitely way more.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night.
All
And
right.
take
Thank you.
care. Be in touch soon. All right. Take care. Thanks, Mark. Thanks everyone for watching. See you all next week for our next Mompreneur.